Welcome to the program. Joining me now, John Brummett, columnist with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. John, thank you for being with us here in a big week in politics over the last several days.
Been a lot going on, major, important, interesting, and sad news, generationally sad news.
Well, let's
Uh,
begin with the sad, and
yeah,
maybe we can end on a happier note. Although the passing of David Pryor certainly something that's going to touch a lot of people for his longevity in his political career, but at the same time, just
just
also to what a great positive person. And so I think we can relish in the fact that his politics was something that brought out the best in people. Give me your thoughts.
well, that's exactly what I think. He was the major politician of an important era in Arkansas. He shared that era with Dale Bumpers, with the President of the United States, Bill Clinton. But I think he was the defining, essential epitome of a progressive era of moderation and modernization from in race and in our political reform from his youth, beginning in 1966, until he left the Senate in 1996. That was the David Pryor time, and it was a time in which politics was about personal connection, uh, almost a cult of personality. It was about positivity, and it was about everything that our politics no longer uh, is. And I think people of Arkansas at that time understood that probably you get inside David Pryor's soul, he may be a little more liberal than we like to think, and he may be a little more politically sophisticated than we like to think, but we don't care. We forgive that because he is so thoroughly nice, so thoroughly gentle, so thoroughly kind, so thoroughly a good guy. And that could play in those days because we did not yet have Fox News, we did not yet have social media, we did not yet have Donald Trump, for goodness sakes. Uh, and so it's his death marks kind of something broader in terms of a passing that had already happened, but that it marks everybody. Nobody had anything bad to say about David Pryor. He could not help but be nice. But when he left the Senate, he got hired at Harvard to run the Institute of Politics. That's not a job you get by being nice necessarily. It's not a job you get by being a mild-mannered guy from the backwoods. There burned some real political passion, and there was some political sophistication in there that he didn't fake it, he didn't hide it. He just was able to blend it in an extraordinary way with the general niceness that he represented, and just a just a remarkable thing, the goodwill that he got, and the fact that he wasn't something different to different people. He was disparate things that he blended into a highly popular style and personality.
Yeah, we're not going to see another guy like David Pryor in Arkansas politics for many years, if ever again. Just like you said, that blend of nice guy and smart on the issues and likable even when you disagreed with him. And I think too, the other thing that really connected with him, I think Dale Bumpers and Bill Clinton had it too. Mike Huckabee has even had it, but this ability to
Yeah.
look a constituent in the eye and be sincere in asking about them and remembering things about 'em. I mean, that he was uncanny in that respect.
Yeah, but the breadth of him, he could. One of his best friends was an overall clad, good old boy from Danville, Lloyd George. He could pal around with him in a very natural sense. Then at the Democratic National Convention in 1988, big crowd of people, I bump into him at a reception, and he presents me Lawrence Tish, and then whispers to me, he runs CBS. Like he's his friend there he's palling around with Lower George. He's palling around with Larry Tish, and he very nicely figured out I need to tell John who this is because I don't think he knows. That sort of epitomized David Pryor to me. Liked in whatever circumstance he was in, but reasonably comfortable in whatever circumstance he was in. Uh, and yeah, I mean, Bumpers had those skills. Clinton certainly had his skills. Mike Huckabee did. BB carried on some of them.
Yep.
But David Pryor, I think, to define that 66 to 96, the 70s through to the 00s, even though we had a president, even though from that era from Arkansas, even though we had the charisma of Dale Bumpers, I think the essence, the epitome of that is David Pryor. And it is something that is long gone in the nationalized, dysfunctional, mean-spirited, petty politics that we're inundated with today.
Well, I look forward to your column on that. I'm not even sure you can get it all in one column, John. This might have to be a series that you do here on David Pryor. So,
well, I was just reading over it, and there's always something else to add. There's stories. Oh man, the stories. He and Dale Bumpers were on the road as the retirees, and David Pryor called it the Antique Road Show. But they were hilarious, and the stories they could tell, even when they'd start in on them, and you think, oh, I heard that 6 months ago, not again. It just becomes engaging along the way. And last time I talked with him, he wasn't well, but I asked him about Joe Biden, and because I said it occurs to me, you're like an old friend of the President of the United States. You've got some insights. And he did, and I wouldn't dare share them, although they were, of course, favorable, because they were personal. But that's just who he was, and at whatever level, from Camden to Washington or abroad, he was just at home and liked, even beloved.
my favorite story about him was that I can't remember. He told this story often, but he happened to share it with me when we were in a personal conversation one time. He would win his elections with 60% of the vote, easily. And he said, I'd be walking down the street and I'd pass 10 people and I'd realize 4 of them voted against me there. So, but the
Right.
other 6 liked me. So, but just he always had that kind of ability to put things in a very unique perspective, a very self reflective and a humbling perspective there. He'll be greatly missed. I
Right.
look forward to all the stories we'll hear.
He did not take himself as seriously
He did not.
as we tend to see people taking themselves in politics today. And he spent his last years fighting hard against his illness, but just lamenting what had happened to politics. And he had a special perspective on that because he was a page at age 15 in the U.S. House of Representatives, I guess, in the 50s, and he served there until until he left nearly 2000. So he had a broad perspective. He knew a better time, and he ached for that, I think, as on a deeper level, even than the rest of us.
Well, let's turn our attention to current politics. It was about a week ago that we finally got the lectern audit report that has been highly anticipated for months on Governor Sarah Sanders' $19,000 lectern and road case purchase. I guess just to begin with, was there anything in the audit report that you saw that surprised you?
Nary a thing. It was okay, yeah. Knew that, figured that, knew that, figured that. Nothing, and that she didn't talk to the auditors. Well, of course not. And that her friends, who were the vendors, the go-betweens, and getting a nice consulting fee, they didn't talk to the auditors. Didn't have to. The auditors didn't press it. And that afterward, I think, really most telling thing was afterward in her reaction. She said it cleared her. It didn't clear her. It referred itself to prosecuting attorney, cited potential violations of law. It said she cooperated fully. I guess she meant her office. She didn't cooperate at all. Put out a strange, real offensive to me video, some sort of hip hop send off about just call me Poe. I'm Podium and I'm back. Come and take me. I, I thought that was a spoof. Did you think it was a spoof when you first saw it, or did you?
I didn't think it had come from the governor's personal or official Twitter account when I saw it. I thought it had to be some sort of fake account of some sort. But
But it wasn't. It was trash talking, and it trivialized uh, public accountability, and was wild. Just come and take it. So I had a friend say she said everything but come and take it from my cold dead hands, like Charlton Heston. It was defiant. When in an earlier time she could have gotten herself out of this by simply being uh, uh, apologetic, apologizing for errors, admitting mistakes. Uh, but that was what Bill Clinton did in 1982 when he came back. It's not what Sarah Sanders does in the Trump era in 2024. And we're going back to the things that nice guy David Pryor came to so severely lament. And that sort of represents it. As I wrote Sunday, the bigger audit to me is not the lectern. We sort of knew what happened. It's the audit of your governor. What do you think of the way she behaved and the way she reacted? And I think that's the more significant thing.
yeah. And there I had gone and distinguished between a lectern and a podium, and then they went back to referring to
And
Poe.
then I went back to Poe. Just call me Poe, she said, isn't
Could
it?
have been Lex, as in lectern or something, but we didn't get that. So
Well, they thought it was very cute. And I don't know many people who share that view.
yeah.
But,
Well,
but maybe
we'll see if the
proceed.
prosecutor does anything with it. I am skeptical that something will come out of that. I didn't think the offenses rose to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors or impeachment or whatever the heck people would
Well,
try to
I've got to, as you
say.
might imagine, I'm sorry.
No, go
I've
ahead.
got, I got Democratic pals pouring over that audit and laying out violations of law and citing the higher accountability she has as a public servant. And this ought to be referred to the FBI and on and on. And I'm saying, please no, please no. Well, we got enough of our politics taking place in criminal courtrooms. I mean, this morning in New York, for example. Uh, and that's not to say that people are above the law, but you need to have some proportionality and good sense. And we don't need to take this lectern into court. I don't think, and we don't need to file charges, even though maybe they could be. What we need to do is consider, as I said, the audit of your governor and the way she operates and the things before your very eyes and how she responds to it. That's the thing you need to consider. And if down in Arkansas, we put Donald Trump's former press secretary in court over a lectern, that's just not that's not proportional, and it is political. It would be politically uh, damaging, politically pointless, if not harmful, to those who did it. So I'm not interested in that. The prosecutor does what the prosecutor does based on the evidence of the audit, and he will. But you don't expect it, and I don't want it. So we'll see how that turns out.
All right. He is John Brummett, columnist with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Look forward to reading your columns this week, my friend.
Well, there'll be some there as always. All right. Thanks a lot.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.